Hello, hello. Episode 30 of the Living Good with Jakeb Livengood podcast. My name is Jakeb Livengood, your host. Today, we're going to carry on with a theme from the last episode. Okay? Going to be a little different, but basically same family of conversation and topic. If you were not privy to episode 29, we were talking about the Valley of Despair. And the Valley of Despair, I mean, we're not going to define it right here, but basically just, a difficult period in your life when you're going down the turbulence of becoming something. And so, guys, the topic of today that I really wanted to talk about, because it was hitting hard for me today, is tough days, hard days, right? And it's because, like, some days, right? And this is just me speaking from personal experience, and if it resonates with you, then that's divine orchestration of why you clicked on this video, right? You needed to hear me say this, right? Some days, for example, for me today, some days all you can do is the bare minimum, right? And it's like, it's not one thing that you can point it to. It's like what happens is you've got your metrics for what is a successful day, but the day just kind of like slips away from you. And, in my case, I have an unusually high workload, and I have very high standards for myself. So what I consider to be a day that, was less than ideal is actually still tangibly pretty successful for most people. So, I mean, I got a lot of stuff done today. I got up at 3 in the morning and went to the gym for 2.5 hours. Got a really good lift in, and then I did some clerical work, worked on my car a little bit, got some things fixed with that, and I painted 2 chest freezers, filled them up with Pond Shield, silicone lubricant, so that I can turn them into ice baths. So, that's a lot of things, but it's also almost 6 p.m. and as far as my workload goes, that was well less than 30% of what I had scheduled for today. Things took longer than they were supposed to. Then I broke something, had to clean that up, and then that took an hour. And then there were a bunch of dishes, so I had to work on that. That took about 40 minutes. And then I went to go take my meal preps out and make some food, and I ran out of food. And so then I had to cook up another section of my meal preps, 3 days of food. That took an hour and a half to then cook, then clean, and the time just got away. And then what was supposed to be what my day looked like wasn't exactly what it looked like. And then I was feeling bogged down because like I didn't have a successful day. And which is interesting because yesterday, talking about the Valley of Despair, yesterday I had a day that was rather difficult as well, right? So it's like, whoa, your brain, your monkey mind, your ego, Satan in your mind, uh, gets that foothold in your door, and is able to start coercing your mind a little bit, especially 2 days in a row. Man, your life just sucks. Maybe this is just your new norm. You just suck now, right? You just have bad days, right? Let's relax, okay? I'm playing devil's advocate here, all right? That's not true. That's not how I feel. All right, but look, you have 2 bad days in a row, and all of a sudden you start. It becomes easier to get bogged down in and of yourself, and then you wake up the next day and you have this confirmation bias of, oh, I'm gonna have another bad day, right? It's one of the first thoughts you have, right? You kind of get like on a streak. It's kind of weird, right? Like if you're on a winning streak, it's easy to keep winning. If you're on a losing streak, it's easy to keep losing. So I think the positive sentiment to share here, right? Because overall, looking over my day, like I didn't get everything done that I wanted to, but also I got some stuff done, so it was a pretty all right day. Still a loss technically. I'm under 50% on my DMOs, but whatever. Um, Overall, I think it's really important to, and in the Valley of Despair episode, we talked about Alex Hermosi and Layla Hermosi having a conversation. Alex didn't feel worthy of he felt down on himself because he didn't produce that day, right? And like, I think it's really important to depeg your value, your inherent value from your production, because we're not always going to produce, and maybe that is the goal, but maybe we don't hit it like we originally intend to, and really that doesn't matter, because if you zoom out and you look at your life on a XY graph, even if you have 2 days in a row that are seemingly negative, downtrend, right? let's even get exaggerative. What if you had a month straight, 30 days, every day just sucked? You were depressed. You were being lethargic, eating stuff you're not supposed to be eating, laying down, sleeping, binging out on Netflix, like garbage. You fell off your gym habit, just all bad, falling back into the old habits of your old ways, completely in unalignment with your higher self and where you're trying to be headed for 30 days straight. What if that happened to you, right? Still zoom out. And maybe with a 30-day time chunk, you got to zoom out a little bit farther. But if I could give this into instead of an XYZ or XY chart, if I gave it in like a trading analogy, right? You've got your 15-minute, your 30-minute, your 1 hour, your 4 hour charts. Then you've got dailies, you've got weeklies, right? And so each candlestick is that time parameter. So if you're scoped in, like if you're scoped in on the 30-minute chart, right, and you're looking at your day in 30-minute blocks, and you got a big red candle because you had a 30-minute period that was just garbage. You broke a glass, you got to clean that up, and then you're like, all right, I finally cleaned that up. Now I'm going to finally get to eat. And then you find out you're out of food. Oh, and you got to now cook now, right? If you're looking really, really short-term time frames, 30 minutes at a time in time blocks, a 2 hour chunk of time that's all down looks bad. It's pretty seemingly negative. But if you zoom out to weekly, right? So now each candlestick on this chart, right? And if you've never traded, you never looked at markets or anything like this, whether that be crypto, forex, stocks, whatever. Maybe this analogy is too far out for you, but you could just go to TradingView and look this up and kind of connect the dots of what I'm talking about here. But say you have that 30 days straight, that's 4 weeks, but you zoom out in your life chart on the weekly calendar, weekly candles, okay? And you've been in this entrepreneurial venture trying to build your dreams into reality for 8 years. 52 times 8, 54 weeks, right? Not 52. Okay, you've got this whole month, and yes, parabolic downtrend for 4 months, but that's 4 candles out of what, 8 years? You've got well over 400 candles on this chart. So if you're looking at this whole chart in weeklies, like, yeah, you had a month straight of just seemingly negative, negative, negative. But if you zoom way far out and you look at the chart, it's just going like this. And then right here, there's this little blip that's just 4 weeks, 4 candles, boom, 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 just straight down. Still not the worst thing that could ever happen, right? And this goes back to perspective is reality, because like I just had 2 bad days, seemingly as I view them based on my quality metrics, bad days. And even still, when they're bad days, I'm still showing up. I'm still doing my podcast, right? Like, you're not gonna stop me. And so it's like, okay, if I have 2 bad days in a row, but I'm still doing partial output to what I expect of myself, and then tomorrow I do a little bit better than that, then I'm still headed in the right direction on a long enough time frame, am I not? So I think that's a really positive way to look at it, because our mind it's really black and white, okay? It's like once we have a thought and we run with that thought, our mind is super good at finding confirmation bias to reaffirm that belief. If you think you have bad days just repeatedly, you're just going to keep having, your brain's like, oh, okay, we have bad days. Cool. Let's find some more things to have bad days about, right? But if you think you're progressively realizing we're the ideal, every day I get 1% better, even when there's trial and tribulation and I have a character building day instead of a growth oriented day, right? Then that perspective becomes your reality. Your brain finds confirmation bias to make that your true life, right? And that's where you're at. And so I think it's really important, even in the times in your hours, in your 4 hours, in your days, in your weeks, in your months. I think it's really important to stay tuned into how we're thinking about things and what we're thinking about, because I'll be honest, there was an hour today after the whole breaking glass, doing my food, eating, I finished the tubs, and by the way, when I was doing the tubs, like this another thing I didn't even mention that just like it was just the culmination of a bunch of little tiny little mix-ups and mistakes and problems that just made today a debacle. But I'm doing the Pond Shield, which is a two-stage silica epoxy that cures through a chemical reaction that gets like 250 degrees. And so it's like it happens fast. Once you mix it and you're going, you got like 20 minutes to do the whole thing. You got to do it fast, fast, fast. And my my paint roller my paint roller actually tore in half and started melting because it was getting so hot. And I was like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. So I was rushing around real fast trying to find another paint roller because I only had the one extra, which was the one I was using already because it was the second coat. And then I managed to find another one, got it on there, and then start rolling it. And after two strokes, it had already hardened up, and I lost like a quarter of the paint for the yield. So like I didn't do it correctly. I finished it and it's fine. It'll work. They're about 10 millimeters, maybe 15, but it was supposed to be up to like 20 to 25. So that's and that thing, the kit's like $104 or something. It's not really about the money. It doesn't really matter, but like I basically wasted $25 worth of it because of small mistakes that happened because it was outside of my control, but whatever. So anyways, that went and happened, and so the culmination of all these little things, and then right after that, I'm gonna be honest, right? Wasn't in my positive mindset. I sat down in a recliner downstairs, and I kind of just sulked. My cat came and sat on my lap. I pet my cat for like 35 minutes when I'm supposed to be executing on my workload, doing my stuff, right? I'm self-employed. I'm my own boss. Nobody's gonna check me. I gotta check myself. And I hypothetically I clocked out of work and just sat down and went lethargic and just moped around in my bad attitude for a good 40 minutes today, which is super counterproductive. But so, and even I do that. 8 years into my entrepreneurial development, I read a lot of books. I'm really tuned into my mindset. I'm really conscious about this stuff. And that's why I share about this stuff publicly too, because like I know this is an area where people need growth. And even I do it all the time sometimes, right? Like today, I literally did it today. And so I think it's really important to be really cognizant of where we're letting our brain route us to, because I mean, that was 5 hours ago that happened. And by the way, I got up at 3 in the morning, so I'm dragging already, right? No nap today. Okay, but it's like I've recuperated, I've rebounded, I'm doing better now mentally, and it's like now I'm getting a podcast done. And I think the lesson to be learned here for anyone that's hearing this, because I kind of feel like I'm complaining about my day, which maybe I kind of am, but there's a lesson to be taught here, and that lesson is even if you lose the hour or the 4 hour time block, like it's totally chill. Just try to reset, maybe do a little meditation, try to reset and get back on track. And even if like today I managed to get back on track and get a lot of things done. So even though technically I failed the day, I was more successful than my bad day yesterday. Yesterday was a debacle. Okay, a big debacle. But yesterday, even if you lose the day, the whole day, you don't get back on track, your output is super mega low. Okay? Who cares? Doesn't even matter, bro. Go to sleep, wake up the next day and attack. Just get after it the next day, because you having a bad day yesterday or today has no tangible merit or effect on tomorrow if you don't let it, right? If you let it, it will. Absolutely. If you just allow a new confirmation belief to come in and go, I just have bad days, boom, it's going to affect your next day. Don't do that. Okay? If you don't allow it, it won't happen. You go to sleep, you leave today in today, and you start fresh tomorrow. It's no big deal. If you are being conscious and you're purposely developing a path for yourself, you're allowed to have bad days, you're allowed to have bad weeks, bad months, because you're still on a long enough time frame, you're still on an uptrend. Well, one thing I don't love the concept or the philosophy of comparing ourselves to others. I only like comparing myself to myself in the past. But just something that I do use, and so does Alex Hermosi, and this is where I got it from Alex. I don't like to compare myself to other people, but when you're consciously building something and you're trying to become something in the world, you're trying to build your dreams and visions, and you have that bad day and you're really down on yourself, remember, just remember, and this isn't to speak disparagingly about the wandering generalities instead of the meaningful specifics, but just remember 95%, maybe even more than 95% of people in our generation below 35 aren't even trying. They're not doing anything. They are not consciously doing anything, building a company, building themselves, learning something new to help them provide more value to the world, like follow their passions. None of it. None of it. There's no intentional design happening in their life at all. 95% plus of people our age. Okay? Now, not to speak disparagingly about them, right? That's okay. That's their path. They can do whatever they want. And we're not better than them because we're conscious and we're aware and we're building something intentionally. But when you're feeling down on yourself because you had a bad day, just know even a single step forward is infinitely more than doing nothing and just being willfully ignorant to a better life tomorrow. Okay? So don't be too hard on yourself. Bad days happen. It's all good. I love you. Stay blessed. Stay beautiful.